Ladies, all ready? Good evening. I'd like to call the Alton Board of Selectmen's meeting, December 14th, 2020, to order at 6 p.m. Until further notice, to keep our members and staff safe and comply with RSA 91-A, the state of emergency and governor's orders, restrictions on public gatherings, the town of Alton is moving from in-person meetings to remote audio participation meetings. To remotely attend the meeting, audio only, visit our website, www.alton.nh.gov, for telephone access and remote access instructions listed under news and announcements on the home page, or telephone the Selectmen's office, 603-875-2113 or 603-875-0229 between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. for the dial-in code and meeting ID for each Selectmen's meeting. Gentlemen and ladies, if you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Gentlemen, before we approve the agenda, item 1 underneath new business will be moved to after non-public session. We come back in the non-public session. And also, I would like to add 1 underneath new business number 5, which will be the 2020 budget. And that's all I have. Does anybody else have anything?
2020 budget?
2020 budget, yes, sir. This year's budget.
Okay.
Or I could say year-end budget.
Current.
Okay, I just double checked.
Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Yeah, so moved,
moved.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Reuben Wentworth to approve the agenda as amended, seconded by Mr. Holt. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth? Yes. Agenda is approved. No announcements at this evening, gentlemen. Submission of public comments, questions, or concerns. We do not have any. We do have an appointment with Jane Davis, involuntary lot merger, request to unmerge, map 44. Do we have Ms. Davis on the phone, sir? Well, Josh is getting around the phone. This is the young lady I told you about that came and saw me at my store. And I did call John Devers. They were reviewing the process of it. You have all the information in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight at your desk, you'll also have a plot plan that was dropped off today by Mr. Varney, I take it, or showing the plot plan. In your readings, you could see where Rob had stated that a survey or plot plan should be brought down. So that did get dropped off today. So at this point, Rob has not seen this, nor has the town planner, nor has the code enforcement officer to review.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But they did bring down what was requested. At this point, I'll let the town administrator talk, and then we'll go to Ms. Davis.
Sure. And I'd like Attorney Sessler to also look at it as well, if the board is okay with that. I think you should hear out the guest tonight, and perhaps put your decision on hold, even if it's just for 1 week until the next meeting, so that all people who should weigh in on the plot plan can weigh in on it.
Agreed.
Could I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
I can't find a date on this. When was this done, this plot plan from Vines?
I don't know when it was done, but we received it today. It was dropped off today.
First time I've seen one without a date.
Yeah, it doesn't have a date.
I can't find it anywhere.
It's not on there.
Don't see it. Yep, okay. That's something I'd like to know when this was done.
Okay. No, we could ask Ms. Davis to get that from Mr. Varney, have us
Mm-hmm.
with the date and the plan.
This is the same copy of what we have in the book.
What you have in the book.
Yeah,
So it's not, I thought it was an updated one.
yeah. Well,
That's what I thought this was.
Yeah, there's no date.
So it's no different than the one we have in the book.
and I believe our assessor asked for,
Mhm.
recommended an updated one.
He did.
And then plus, when they filed, in the reading I read, when they filed for septic approval,
Mhm.
they used the total lot as, according to, town planner, they used the total lot.
That's
When
what,
they applied for the septic.
that's what has to be figured out, because
Right.
it's showing two septic systems on there, so. So if we could have Ms. Davis join us?
Chris.
Hi, Ms.
Hi.
Davis.
Hi,
Hi
how are
there.
you?
Ruben Wentworth talking to you.
Hi,
I'm sure
Ruben.
you just heard our conversations.
Right, right. I can clarify one thing. I did call Varney Engineering to ask him to explain to me about the septic systems, and I actually went, and the date that I went to him was 11/5/2020, and he indicated to me, he made it very clear that there were two separate septic designs and that they were each designed on the lots. And he actually broke it down. One lot had 26,400 square feet and one lot had 19,450 square feet. Because I know there was a concern, and that's why I called him to verify that they were actually done on the two separate lots.
Well, the rest of the board just saw a better plot plan design tonight that's a little more visible. Like I stated to you on the phone, I did contact the code enforcement officer that day, and he was telling us they were in review. Our town assessor, Rob, had recommended that a plot plan be brought in with the dates and everything on it to make it better for us to review.
Right.
Our town administrator is recommending that at least we have the town council look at this, and we'll have to get a hold of Mr. Varney, or if you could have him come down, because the plan he dropped off has no dates on it. And
Okay.
It really needs to be on it to go any further towards the town attorney and the assessor.
Okay.
To do that. I don't believe the board will make a decision. I think we're gonna put it off a week so all heads can look at this. And if we could get Mr. Varney, even a letter from Mr. Varney stating that when he did this, that it was based on two individual lots, that would even help your case even better, I believe.
Okay. Well, he did tell me that. I went up to his office and he did tell me that. So I will call him tomorrow and get that information. And I know my brother and I did hire an attorney to make sure that our deed clearly indicated, 100-year deed for two lots. So.
Yes, we do have that in our file before us too.
Okay, so you have that. All right.
But just so we're making sure we have our I's and dotted and T's crossed before we make any decisions, it would just be
Okay.
best to let our town attorney review this, and so we can get back to you next Monday night, because we are meeting every Monday night right now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's hard with all this virus going around that people are trying to conduct business. It gets complicated.
It is. Do you gentlemen have any questions for Ms. Davis? Mr. Holt?
Yes, I just had one question. Both those septic systems, leach fields installed?
Yes. One was built when the town approved. My parents requested to build a second home, and the town would only allow that to happen if they proved that they had two lots. So back in the 80s, when they built their retirement home, they installed a septic system for that house. It's totally on that property. The utilities are separate. Everything has been kept totally separate. And then my father used to go out on the lake, and he would take water samples, and he got very nervous about the camp being so old. So about 10 years after that, he ended up having a septic design made just for the camp. And I have gone to, Varney, and I've got the information from him on the one design, and then there's a Randy Orvis who has been keeping all the maps and everything for the gentleman that designed the other one, and that was I guess he's retired, Colbath, but I have all that right in front of me. So, I mean, I tried to do all my homework. I felt it was a no-brainer. I felt that I had dotted all my I's, and that everything was totally split, so.
Well, I think you've done your homework. It's just that Mr. Varney failed to put a date on the plan for us, for one of the.
Okay.
And that could just be something he overlooked, I don't know. But if we could get that done tomorrow so we can get it out to the respective parties, so next Monday night we can have a decision for you, that would be fabulous.
I will have that. I will call them first thing in the morning.
Okay. Mr. Rochelle, do you have a question?
Yes, Ms. Davis, just a question. Access to the lot size, 19,000 square feet, 450 square feet, only access from the adjacent lot, is that correct? There's no driveway directly into that second lot?
There isn't a formal driveway, no. We've been, we put a couple of trucks up there, but no, there hasn't.
Is there anything proposed in the future for a separate driveway entrance to that secondary lot?
Well, I didn't want to put the cart before the horse. I felt we were supposed to get everything, back to its original configuration. And then
Yes.
I was thinking probably down the road there would be a conversation with, we intend to sell the year-round home. And I thought at that point we would have a conversation with, realtors and the potential buyers and see, what they wanted to do by way of an easement. Most of my neighbors have easements. I guess that's the right word. I hope it's the right word. But I thought that was putting the cart before the horse. We hadn't quite gotten there yet.
Okay, no, just asking the question. And you're still going to maintain a shared well?
Yes, that was the intent, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Whitman? Okay, Ms. Davis, anything else you'd like to add, though, before we end our appointment?
I guess if you don't mind, the only thing that I would like to add is, and I do get emotional over this, but back in when I was young, my great-grandparents, my grandparents, and my parents, they were all factory workers. They put all their money together to purchase these two lots. Our family has truly loved and supported this town, and I would like to continue to reside in the camp and be a part of this community, and just continue our family traditions. And so I am hoping that there will be a favorable opinion from you that these are, in fact, two lots. To me, we've got deeds going back in the early 1900s that shows that they were never merged. And I would like to be a resident here. I'd like to live in the camp, and we will be having to sell the year-round home.
Okay,
so that's where I'm at.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Hold on just a second, Ms. Davis. Mr. Holt has another question.
I just have a concern that, Paul brought up. If this is approved, technically, one lot is landlocked. We're not supposed to do that.
That's why
Only by easement. This town has several easements running through several properties.
There is no easement now, Mr. Chairman.
I understand
So I think that should be addressed to our town attorney for possible clarification.
that. If you've noticed everything along 28A, Route 11, Route 11D, there's easements going through several properties. On this one, I'm familiar with because when the Davises first came to town, and they moved there year-round down in the new home, I used to sand that driveway in the wintertime. Had a two-wheel drive, and it's quite a steep driveway. An easement, I would say that would have to be worked out between the buyers. If the lot comes true as two separate lots, that would have to come between the property owners and not so much the town. It could be mistaken that Paul's on the ZBA. And that would have to be approved, I believe.
They would have to be approved.
It has to be approved by the
Yep.
ZBA.
Yep.
There's a steep decline right there on that lot that goes down in there.
Mhm.
I know because I've slid down it many times over the years when I did sand it. 20 years ago, so. If the town attorney, that's fine, Bob, if you want that sent to the town attorney at the same time, that's fine, I have no problem with that. I just want, it's just that there's these
Wouldn't hurt.
all over this place, which are crazy.
I got one right through my property, so.
Oh, I got easements all over.
Yeah.
But there is none here.
So, Ms. Davis, I'm gonna let you go with this, and you will hear back from us near the end of the week to set up maybe, hopefully, a time for Monday night's meeting.
Okay, thank you, and I will call, Varney Engineering tomorrow and get that information to you as soon as possible.
Thank you so much, and have a lovely night.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yep, bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Okay, gentlemen, moving on to new business, number 2. Solid Waste Department part-time hour schedule adjustment, part-time hour schedule adjustment. In your book, you notice Mr. Simon sent you a request. Did not impact his budget at all. He's requesting to do this because different times if somebody's out, 2 of them trying to run that place, it's just not enough. You need to move the third person on. Mr. Simons did come and talk to me about it. I have no problem with it.
It's a good solution.
I think it's a good solution for us. It'll save us overtime. And one member up there right now, their wife has been very sick, so they're having
Correct.
some time, so this would help out that situation.
I think it's a good solution.
Yeah, sounds
I agree.
It's not hard to run the containers, the recycling center, and the scales at the same time, 2 people.
I'll go
I
for
think
it.
we're all well aware of that when you go up there, and it's a busy place.
And do we have a
Short-handed.
final motion to approve the request of the solid waste center?
I make a motion, we approve the solid waste center employee, the 2021 budget. I believe it's 18,330.
Yes, sir. We'll take the part-time employee, make it 24 hours a week, 6 hours a day, 4 days a week, is what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 24 hours a week, 6 hours a day, 4 days a week.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Rochelle to approve the request of the solid waste center, Mr. Simons, for the change it to a year-round position, part-time, 24 hours a week, 6 hours a day, 4 days a week. It will not affect the 2021 budget. Second by Mr. Whitman. Do I have any discussion? Does the town administrator have any comment?
I fully support this recommendation.
Being no discussion, I'll move the motion. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes,
Mr. Wentworth? Yes, votes in the affirmative. Next would be the fire department. Number 3, fire department boat and ladder truck discussion. In your package, gentlemen, you have a request. The fire chief. I believe he's probably on the phone with us tonight. And chief, are you there tonight?
Hello.
Hi there, sir. How are you?
Good. How are we doing tonight?
Good. I'm going to let you go ahead and present your case to the Board of Selectmen. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. So as you remember, not too long ago, I had come and presented to you guys about looking into replacing the ladder truck with something used, and you guys had a plan of basically working with CIP to try to get the truck replaced with a new truck in 2 years. We just had a new situation come up with our boat. It does have a leak. The boat is scheduled to be replaced in 2022. Before getting into the boat to find the problems, they're quoting us of $3,000 for what they can see. We know that once they dig into it, they're going to find other problems. Last year, we put more money than I would have liked to, close to $4,000 into the boat for other such deck problems and some problems with the wood. What I'd like to do is move the boat up to 2021 to try to get it done. My fear is by doing that and working with the CIP for the ladder truck that we're going to decimate that account. So the solution I'm offering is looking into a lease option for the ladder, putting a warrant article through for a lease on the ladder. I know we had tried this in the past, but we were also looking at 4 vehicles that time. My reasoning with that is if we can do a lease and keep it for 10 years, lease it for 10 years, and then the next 10 years take the payment and put it in the capital reserve. At the 20-year mark, we'll be ready to go again, and we'll pretty much be a level funded. We won't be looking at any spikes. Trying to get $500,000 into capital reserve in 2 separate years, I think, might create some spikes as well. The other thing is with the boat, it initially was put into capital reserve at 125,000, and a purpose-built boat, we're looking closer to 300,000. With the hope is on that one to take money out of the ambulance revolving fund, as well as the fire department capital reserve, as the boat is used for both functions.
Okay, Chief, I guess I'll start off. The ambulance revolving fund, do you have enough money in that ambulance revolving fund right now to purchase a new ambulance?
Yes. So currently in the ambulance revolving fund, as of the end of last month, is $676,500.
Okay. Because that's my only concern, is that there's always money to replace one of those units as they come of age.
Yes. So one of the things I took a look at, we're pretty much bringing in $200,000 a year with the current billing cycle, the current way things are getting paid, and some of the changes we've made to our own process.
Another question. If this boat did not develop a leak, as it stated, would that boat had to have been replaced next year?
The boat is getting to the point where it needs to be replaced. The motors are kind of they're old. We're talking like 22 to 25 years old on different parts of that boat. And the problem is it's just not built for what we're doing with it.
Okay. Because when I look at your price, what you put down, it's as built boat, a factory ordered boat, 280 to 320, I go, ouch. Which I'm really quite surprised. And I was just wondering, is there a boat on Lake Winnipesaukee that's built to the specs that you're going to be looking at? So maybe the selectmen could go look at one.
Guilford's boat would be pretty close to this. There's a couple things that we would do differently. They have a Eastern. One of the things they noticed is theirs takes a lot of water to draft. So we're looking at something a little different so we can get into some places they can't. A couple of the other important things that this boat would do is give us a place to actually treat a patient while we're bringing them back to the dock. Plus, it takes the pump and it puts it underneath the deck, so we actually have room to work. Makes it a little safer. We've had some problems with the pump that's on top of that deck now. The other thing is the boat will allow us to pump water to any fire that can access the lake, rather than trying to bring a truck down to the lake. We can pump out of the lake. It could be a great water source.
Hey, refresh my memory if you could, and then I'll let the other guys jump in here. I won't try to be a hog about all this. Refresh my memory when we went back to our meeting in the fall, we talked about going for a ladder truck, and how much were we looking to put away for 2 years? 500,000 each?
It was going to be 500,000 for 2 years each, because it's going to be 1.2 to 1.3 million.
Well, we also try to still look for a grant, as you stated in your letter.
Yeah. So the idea is if we get if we can get the grant and we know we have a backup with the lease, I can use the lease as our match payment. So one of the things with the grant, it looks like we just didn't have enough money for a match to put us in a good running. So if we can change our match payment, but actually make it the lease would actually just be less money.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
If we took the 500,000 instead just for the ladder truck, and we split the difference, 250 for the new boat, 250 for a ladder truck this year, you pulled another 100,000 out of the ambulance revolving fund, giving you your 350, which you're close to the 280, 300,000. And next year we go for 500,000. That would give you 750,000. Hopefully that would give you 2 years possibly to find a grant. Would you? And this is my asking, not the board. Would you be acceptable to that?
We have to understand that there is risk to that, obviously. I mean, if we're relying on the grant for the rest of the money, it just may not happen. I don't know for sure. That's the only problem. So
And I
this,
understand.
yeah, this plan just, if it goes through and if it would pass it at, town meeting, that would allow us to just move forward and kind of put this issue to rest. I feel we keep bringing it up and keep putting it on the docket. I just don't want to shove it down the taxpayer's throat. I'm looking for an easy way to spread that payment out. That's all.
Well, that's what I was looking at, but my problem is putting on the backs of the taxpayers 10 years of $130,000 lease with other leases coming down the road besides highway department with a new grader, new excavator, new loader, solid waste center, same thing. I have a problem with leases. That's the only thing, is because so much weight is put on the taxpayer's back every year. So that's why I was saying at most is be 3 years from this date with my idea. 250 for your, for the boat out of the fire department, and 250 for the ladder. Next year, we go for 500,000 on the ladder, which would give you 750. Hopefully, in the meantime, a grant might come available for a part of that amount. If not, the third year, we could be able to do a ladder truck. At least that would be my plan, and I know nothing is a crystal ball, but I just think easier on the taxpayers, that might be more conducive, unless you have something else for 2022 that's coming up that needs to be done.
By moving the boat up, we would not.
That's all I have, gentlemen. I'll let you guys ask the chief some questions.
Chief, this is Paul, La Rochelle.
Yes.
What is the nature of the other items that you said, other than the leak on the current fireboat, that you think is wrong?
I'm not a boat expert, so I can't tell you. Basically, I know because the leak is on the underside of the boat. Once they start tearing into it, they're going to find the rest of the problems. This one little leak is the one that they can see. There's a significant amount of water that is coming into the boat, enough that it's running the bilge out and killing the batteries in about 2 days.
Okay. Have you thought about the value of the boat if you were to sell it?
I don't know what the value is of that. The plan is to, either trade in or private sale, either a municipal bid. Right now it's at Eastern. They have it out of the water. They have it in-house. And right now they're waiting for us to decide if we're going to fix it or move on with it. But, they're the ones that have quoted us the new boat. So we could get them to give us a value of that boat for trade-in. Sure.
Right. What is the year of that boat?
That I don't know off the top of my head right now. I can tell you in a couple minutes.
Thanks. Okay.
Mr. Holt.
I assume that's a wood boat, Chief Bob Holt?
It's mostly fiberglass. It has, wood for the decking.
So where's the leak on this boat?
It's on the underside somewhere near the bilge is the one we know about. We're not sure what else is in there. It's not getting under the deck isn't something we're really able to do. It's going to take a little bit of work to get that deck apart to get underneath.
Well, but it can be fiberglass.
I mean, not knowing how old the boat is, I know you've got it on the 22 capital reserve plan, but your estimate of 3,000 to fix it. If it goes to 5,000, you're talking an expenditure of 280 to 320.
Big difference.
We just approved in a highway department, we approved some $40,000 to fix an excavator that's worth 70. We can get a few more years out of it, 8 more years. I look at, is this boat, is it worth repairing and getting a few more years out of it?
So we've put over $4,000 into it in the last 2 years. It's one of those things where your problems just keep stacking up with the boat, and the fact that it's got to be replaced, that's not going away. So we're either going to keep putting money into it and then replace it, or we can stop putting money into it, cut our losses and move on with the boat.
You all set, Bob?
Well, yeah, not knowing the age of the boat,
You were gonna look that up, right?
Yeah.
yeah. What was I gonna say? You know, I don't know. How many motors are on that boat? Two?
Two.
Two. How old were they? Did you say that?
We believe they're 22 years old.
22 years old. I thought that boat had been repowered, but maybe I was mistaken.
That was the police.
That was the police boat, yes.
Police boat?
Yes.
Okay.
Police boat, police boat underneath.
I was gonna say the same thing, but it was the police boat.
Police boat was done underneath. They took the top of the bolt off, the top of the hull off, so looked at the bottom, fixed the leaks on that, fixed the engine. I think it was new engines on that. They were updated. That was 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, at least a year or 2 years ago, from the revolving fund of the police department. Bob, do you have any more questions before I move to Bob?
No, do you have any idea what that cost?
I don't off the top of my head, no. Bill?
I'm kind of leaning the way Bob was talking. Chief, you said, check out the leak and see anything else that might be wrong, but at this point, we don't know anything else that might be wrong. Maybe it would be, useful to just see how bad it is and maybe repair it to get another year or so out of it.
You done?
Yeah, done.
No, going back to that, like to know the year of it. When you said that you spent $4,000 in the last couple of years, that's only $2,000 a year. That's not much in terms of upkeep for a boat, as far as I'm concerned, in working on boats and knowing what needs to be done in upkeep and maintenance on boats. It's more than an automobile would be usually. I think it's worth finding out what the other items are that need to be repaired. And I think we're all on the same page, as Bob has also said, you're talking $3,000, even if it's $5,000 to repair it for the next year to 2 years. It may be worth looking into.
Chief, did you have any response?
I'm sorry. Somehow I got kicked out of the meeting, but I'm back now.
Mr. Rochelle had stated that he's possibly, that the $2,000, $4,000 that were put into it isn't much money when it comes to maintenance of a boat. Possibly that we should look and see the cost of what it would cost to fix it and see if we can get a few more years out of it. Along with him saying that, I'm gonna step in now because I think all three of you said what they want to say.
Yes, yes,
We're at,
yes.
maybe we'll ask some more at this. So with hearing them doing that, if this is the way the board wants to go, I'm gonna request that they make a motion for some of money because I don't believe Eastern's gonna tear in that boat without money to tear that hull apart, the top part off and get into it and get an estimate of what it's fully gonna cost to repair it. I don't believe they will do that free of charge. And for you to come back with an estimate on it, that has to be done shortly because warrant articles are gonna be being brought up. With that notion being said, I'm also gonna look at another plan, throw another plan out there that the Board of Selectmen had talked about doing warrant articles this year through the fund balance, the surplus, paying for it instead of putting them back to the taxpayers. So if you took $150 from the surplus fund, the town administrator put something like that together to look at next week, and $150 from your ambulance fund, that's what you have in there of the $650,000, is that what you said, $670,000?
Yep.
That would fund a new boat of what you're looking at after you've built your RFPs. You can still request $500,000 for your ladder truck, and it would not hurt the taxpayers from what the selectmen had already committed to do for a ladder truck. But that's my thinking. I'm just throwing out a couple of different options there. But I do not believe Eastern will tear into that boat unless you're gonna pay them to tear in to find out exact what's wrong with it, correct?
I believe so. And once they start getting into it, we just don't know what they're going to find there. We believe there's going to be some more rot in the floor stringers. We also know that the pump itself that's on the boat needs to be replaced. That has not been, number one, it hasn't been pumping to capacity, but number two, it hasn't been starting well on its own. That pump there, like, it's about $25,000 to replace.
Okay, so maybe with the board's permission, if they'll grant it to us, can you go back and get a rough estimate what Eastern thinks the field to pull that thing apart? Just to pull it apart, so we know what's the major problems are with it. Also, get us the year of that boat for
It's
next week's meeting,
It's a 1997.
1997.
Yeah.
Okay, so 23 years old. Which most of its life, it sits in the water and it's not ready to go until you really actually need it, and then you have to go like hell with it, correct?
Yeah, it does. It sits and then it just goes. The other thing is the motor manufacturer. Um, I believe the manufacturer is out of business, so sometimes parts are hard to find as well. But somebody,
Okay.
yeah,
So what I did was throw out a couple options there for my board, or the board here to discuss. But if your next week's meeting, if you could come back with some plans, maybe I just threw out there for you. Maybe we could have a better answer for you next week.
okay,
But I'm gonna look at the town administrator to see how she has any comments on this.
That can be done. The information can be brought forward next week. If for some reason Eastern can't do that, we'll just wait until the following week.
I just hate to see us put 5,000 into it, just tearing it apart, and all of a sudden, they basically say the hull's no good and it's not worth repairing.
No, we need to get an estimate.
Or we ask them to look into it, and I don't believe they'll cut it all, take off the top half of it, for nothing, so I'd like to know if it's gonna be 5,000, 10,000.
Right.
Because then we have to make that decision whether or not to keep it. But before they go any work, we need to know how much it would be to approve that spending. Sound satisfactory, Chief?
yeah, we'll get that information and come back next week.
I'll just poll the board real quick if they agree to this or not. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt? Yes. Votes affirmative, if you could get that done, Chief, that would be fabulous.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, gentlemen, moving on to number 4, special event application, Castleberry Fairs, July 17th and 18th, 2021, and September 4th, 5th, and 6th, 2021. I'll turn this over to the town administrator at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is the annual application for the craft fair in the Bay. This would be for the July event. The last couple of years, the events have gone very well. Once, remember there was Bob, you weren't on the board then, but the rest of you
Yes.
probably remember some discussions and everything, and everything's been fine. So everything would be status quo with the fees, with the pre-inspection, post-inspection, photos, et cetera, et cetera.
So I guess, town administrator, I'm gonna look at you. With everything going on today, where everything got postponed this year because of COVID-19. My little simple mind and my common sense tells me COVID-19 is not gonna be gone next year. There's a vaccine out, but it does not cure COVID-19. It does not destroy COVID-19 from our world, so COVID-19 is gonna be around, or at least they can't tell us that. My only concern with this is, if we're gonna use our public restrooms, there's gonna be extra cleaning that's gonna be needed during these days. Is there an upcharge for the extra cleaning that's gonna have to be done to sanitize? Because we can't just clean them once a day at this point, because you're gonna have hundreds of people using it if this event goes forward.
So actually, now that you mention it, and by the way, both dates are in here, the Labor Day weekend
Yep.
and July weekend. This would be something probably that the emergency management team should weigh in on.
Yes.
And they might require porta potties, you know,
I really think it's something seriously we should look at before we approve it, before we come to it next spring. All of a sudden, we have to start changing our minds to it.
yeah,
Where emergency management team is involved right now, we still should submit this before then.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Gentlemen agree?
yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think if, it should be on a contingency of the status of the virus at that time.
Mhm.
You know, who knows?
Yeah.
So I think that's,
So it's what was done this year.
mhm.
Yeah.
And, the requirement was the company had to come up with a plan to ensure
Social distancing.
disinfecting and everything, and it just was not possible.
Yep.
So,
Because I still feel that this country will not be fully vaccinated by June or July this coming year.
I don't think so either.
So,
So I think it's important the emergency management team do look at this and weigh in on this, most definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
so gentlemen, you want to table this matter until we hear back from emergency?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Item 4, special event application, Castleberry Fields, has been tabled until emergency management team reviews the application and the date. Gentlemen, underneath old business, number 1, proposed 2021 budget discussion. We had the breakdown given to you folks. Asked you to look at it, see if there's anything you wanted to come back with. Budget is up $600,000. It is not our budget anymore at this point. It is now the budget committee's budget. They have reviewed it. They have agreed with us on our budget. The only time we can make any changes now at this point would be deliberative session. We cannot change this budget now because it is no longer our budget. And as I kind of reiterated last week, and I had stated that $605,000 represents a lot. But the most major impact is the insurance went up $232,000 plus $81,000 for reassessment. Right now, there's your $300,000 right there. It's a new driver at the highway department, new full-time fire crew being put on that we're recommending. The increase in highway sand, the increase at solid waste center, that puts the budget up now to $400,000. At least $200,000 left over, $205,000. To make that significant impact to this budget of $150,000 or even $100,000, only way we could do it after we've agreed to everything, it would have to go against the merits and the salaries, merits and COLA. Because if you add up all your COLA and your merits, that's basically what that comes to. I don't know where we can make any changes. I'm satisfied with the budget. I could defend the budget if we had to. I have no problem with that. But I know Virgil asked for this to be done. Virgil's not here tonight. He's got his percentages.
Yep.
I don't like percentages because percentages are so misleading, the way they're put in there. But if you gentlemen have anything other to say, I'll open up the floor at this time. Just the whole.
Yeah, I'm not happy with the 7.78% increase. We haven't even touched our warrant articles yet.
That's right.
At the meeting last week, you led us to believe, Mr. Chairman, that we had this list presented to us. We'd talk about it next week, and if there was any changes to be made, we might, review them.
Oh, you can. That's why I got the floor open.
Well, I thought you just said we can't change the bottom line of the budget.
You can change the bottom line at the deliberative session.
At the deliberative section.
If you can't change this now, if you do, you have to send everything all back to the budget committee. The budget committee's already approved the budget.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, but see, when did they approve the budget?
At their last meeting, they approved every budget that was
When
submitted
was
to
their
them.
last meeting? Was it last week?
2 weeks ago.
But see, I was under the stipulation that we could change this tonight. You told,
I never said we could change it. We could discuss it.
Okay.
And I would fight hard not to change it. But all I'm saying is Virgil asked for this. We got it presented to us.
He did.
And doing more research, town administrator, and also Laura, and she stated it there to me, that it's not our budget anymore. It's the budget committee's budget. We
At this
presented
point.
the budget to the budget committee.
Mhm.
They approved our budget, but now it becomes the budget committee's budget.
Yeah.
For us
Yep.
if we want to save any money, or if you want to lower that increase, Bob, the Board of Selectmen have to get up to deliberative session, make a motion. Mr. Moderator, make a motion to reduce the overall operating budget by $200,000. Then you're going to be asked, where are you going to reduce it? We can't say, well, it's up to the town administrator to find where she's going to reduce it. It'd be up to us to say, what line items are you going to cut to come up with, say, 200, 100,000, 150?
Oh, I don't think you're right there.
I think I am.
I think by law, well, of course, I'm going by the old town meeting.
Yeah.
So I can't,
Well, when the taxpayer stands on the town floor and asks me, where are you gonna cut that $200,000?
Gotta have an answer.
Well, I gotta have an idea.
Well, you can have, there's answers to that. Yeah, you know, I mean, we go over the budget. We went over the budget line item by line item, everybody's budget. I understand that. And I've always, well, we never had this bottom line figure presented to us. See, I've always got budgets. When the budget is prepared, we get a sheet almost like this, right? And now we know how it's going to affect the increase, decrease, and so forth. At the beginning of the budget process. So here we get all the budgets. Unless you take each one and add them all up yourself, you know, I mean, so we look at the budgets and go, okay. But then you get to the realization at the end, it's a 7.7% increase, which is pretty healthy, especially in this time. We got people, I don't know, food banks and everything else, we got people without food. Town of Alton, we're lucky. It's pretty stable. I got to admit that. But, boy, I think on the deliberative session, that 7.78, people aren't going to be happy with it.
No, they're not. A lot of people aren't happy because their taxes went up. I know it's 10 people I've sat down with and explained why their property taxes went up this year, and then they kind of understood why.
Oh, yeah, I've done that too.
They sat down and write it down on paper, why it went the way it did. They understood, and I said, this is what happens with the default budget. I also stated to them this year on the warrant articles, we were going to try to use the fund balance against warrant articles versus doing 5-year, 10-year leases, stretching it out on the backs of the taxpayers, because we had talked about that. The town administrator brought that up to us. I don't know, if we went into that budget, I don't know where you come up with a significant change. If it was
In your opinion, it would be directly affecting Merritt or Cola.
No.
Mr. Chairman?
You would have, let me finish. You just asked me a question.
Yeah.
You would have to literally go through every line item and start taking out 5,000 here or
Right.
4,000 there.
Exactly.
Or if you want to make a big step, you say no truck driver. That would be one big chunk right there, okay? But also, we have to realize, in next year, or this year, we have 3 to 4 roads coming on. As Mr. Robinson stated, and the town administrator stated, we've been waiting for all that paperwork coming in. We're told it's coming. A lot of it's in legal review right now. I tried to think back where we could go back. I know, Bob, you said, well,
I've been trying.
You can give it to the department heads and let them decide. Well, that's not their job. That's our job now at this point, because this is our budget. It's not the department head's budget. This is the Board of Selectmen's budget. Could I go through there if I really wanted to? But boy, I think it's some things that would be really skinny if you want to get it down to 5%, and no one said what they want to get it down to. We know $400,000 has to be, right now, 400,000 or say 300,000 has to be there for reassessment and the health insurance, because that's a contract.
Right.
No ifs, ands, buts about it.
That's half right there.
That's half of it right there. So I don't want to cut the sand, that's for sure. That went up quite a bit on us this year, double the price.
It did. Well, we went through it almost line, well, we did line for line.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Every year we come up with a healthy surplus.
Yes,
If
sir.
I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
What I call healthy, which is probably good management. But I did a little figuring of 2%, and that comes up to just a little over $200,000. Comes up to $209,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not that good a mathematician, but a budget is a budget, and we're paying a town administrator, finance director, I believe that's your position, and department, multi-department heads. If this budget got cut by 2% at deliberative session, that would be just a little over $200,000. I believe that can be saved within the operating budget.
Where?
Come on. Do you?
No, I'm serious, Asha. If you're telling me.
Whoa. I'm saying that's their job.
No.
They run the budget all year.
You want to cut 2%. Tell me where you want them to cut the 2%.
I don't care where they cut.
So you just want to arbitrarily say 2% off the board, and that's say you think people figure out how to be done.
That's right.
See, I don't feel that's part of,
Well,
that is their job, but it's also our job to help them figure out where it should come from.
Oh, I'd be more than willing to help them during the year, but,
No, before we get to the deliberative session, ask to cut it 200,000. You want to cut 200,000, tell us where you think there's meat, fat in this budget to cut 200,000.
where does the surplus come from every year, Mr. Chairman?
Well, from some cost savings, some things didn't get, probably will have the surplus this year, some things that couldn't get done. There's some things that should have been done that couldn't get done because of one is the pandemic this year.
I'm not talking, every year we have a surplus.
Every year you have a surplus, yes.
And last year, we applied some of it because we had so much of it.
$500,000.
You applied, this board applied towards the operating budget, which was a mistake, but not a mistake, but, you know, if it was done another way, it would have been much better for the tax rate this year. But, I'm, seriously, I don't know how the board feels about it at deliberative session. I'm seriously, thinking about making that motion. I'd have done it tonight if I thought it could be done tonight.
So you're saying if you thought the board would do it tonight, you'd do it here at the board, but if you don't get that feeling from the board, you're gonna get up on the floor as a private citizen and make that motion.
If I did, I mean, if the board wasn't in favor of it, yes, I haven't made that decision. I hate, how do I word it? I believe in what the board agrees to, that's the road I should take. I find it hard for me to get up on my own and do that.
Mr. Whitman.
Okay. We talked about leaving the benefits package alone this year because it was so late. And we agreed to leave it alone with the idea that we'd start working on a new benefits package in January. And I honestly believe we'll do that. I think we're long overdue for a benefits package that's not just fair to the taxpayers, but better for the town employees as well. So we agreed to that. We can't cut anything out of the benefits package. But the rest of the budget, all I know is in the private sector, I've been handed budgets easily 2% less than I wanted. And I just had to figure out ways as a department head how I could make that work. And it's beyond me why it can't work in government if it works in the private sector. So in that regard, at this point, cutting 2% from the budget, accepting the benefits package, to me, makes sense and something probably the taxpayers would swallow much better. Because at this point, when they see that figure, they're have to say, okay, another default budget. They're have to shoot the whole thing down.
Possible.
Okay, if I add up the lines, and it's just roughly adding, I start at the administration department at 17,709, go all the way down to the solid waste department, the bottom one's there. That gives you a roughly increase, but that gives you roughly $254,000 right there. Give or take. So out of those departments, that's where you have the meat to take something out. Tell me where you want to take the meat.
I agree with Bob that that is the job of the departments. And I've seen it happen before. I've seen them, okay, this is where we're going to take it out. This is what we can go without or whatever. And to me, I mean, I'm a department head where I work. I'm expected to do that. I think town department heads should be able to do that as well.
Okay, I'm just going to go back to the highway department. Biggest increase in the highway department was the truck driver's position and the highway singer. That was it. Out of the 108,000.
Where does our two,
Solid Waste Center, another big one, 45,590. That was due to a 2.5% increase and plus all the excess that got carried into the year. I'm just gonna throwing some things out there. Where you're gonna have to go to the big departments to make those cuts. Police Department was a $48,000 increase. So within those are the only few departments you got any meat to take anything out of. So one would say, then let's get rid of the truck driver's position. This is what the board wants to do. You have to. You can't take just 5,000 here, 2,000 there, 2,000. You'd have to go through every budget and every line item, start deducting $2,000 to come up that $200,000. Some line items you can't take 2,000 out because that's the only thing that's in there. But I do disagree with you. If the board, after they reviewed this budget and approved this budget, are not happy at $605,000, it's up to the board to decide where that money should come out of. Because the department heads did what we asked them to. They presented us the budget. They kept it within, most departments kept it within line. We agreed to certain things, new truck driver. We agreed to the solid waste. We agreed to the police. So we knew those increases were there. I did add this up as we went along to see where our budget was. I know I didn't have this sheet here presented to me because we would have had it every week. But we agreed to this budget wholeheartedly right from the get-go. Now all of a sudden we're looking at it and saying, oh, geez, 7%.
I really expected to get that sheet of paper much sooner than we did.
But how could you get it much sooner when you keep doing the budgets right to the very end? You wouldn't have had it. That's up to us, but that's up to us to keep adding those numbers every time we vote upon a budget ourselves to keep those totally separate to see where we were. But, I mean, if this is what the board wants, that's fine. We have plenty of time to talk about this until deliberative session. Because there's nothing we can change right now. This budget right here of $8,378,000 is going before the deliberative session.
Correct.
We cannot change that figure because that is not our budget.
you said the budget committee approved it.
And they approved it as well.
I understand that.
So if there's something at the deliberative session, you want 200,000 out of there, but this board is, that's what they want. We gotta bring it up the next few meetings along with the capital
Figure it out.
warrant articles and everything else.
Again, Mr. Chairman, if you look at our salaried employees' pay in this town, we're paying a lot of money.
I agree with you on that, Bob.
Okay, not that they're not worth it, I'm not saying that. But it's their job to operate the town. And it's our job to give them so much money. It really isn't my job to say they should spend this amount on sand. I mean, that's their job. And it's their job to get the sand. It's their job to get it as cheap as they can. I was a department head. I was a budget committee member, and I was a selectman. We did it to the school one year. The budget committee did, straight across the board, 10%. After the budget was approved by the budget committee, 10%. They whacked them 10% right off the top. And they told them to go run it the way you want with that amount of money.
I don't mind reducing budget by $200,000, but I gotta have some justification why I want that 200,000 coming.
Well, I believe in the system we have in this town, with the people we hire, they're well qualified to handle a 2%. 2% is not that much.
Well, you're asking for a 30% reduction.
What?
You're asking for this, the increase was 605,000. You say 2%, you're asking for
209,000
About 200,000.
off.
That's 30%.
Off the
That's
605.
30% of what the increase was.
Correct.
All right, I guess, anybody have anything else to say?
We're going to discuss it the next couple of meetings again.
I'm gonna ask that question right now to the board and take a vote.
What's that?
Well, we just discussed it, so now I want to know what
He
the
wants to know.
majority of the board wants to do. I'm gonna ask for a motion.
Well,
whether or not to discuss further.
I'd like to, have full board representation if possible. Discuss it again.
I need a motion. I need a motion to what the board wants to do. Does the board want to reduce this budget at deliberative session by $200,000, $100,000, or live with the budget as is? So that the next meeting, I know what I'm gonna have the town administrator set up for discussion.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we're looking at deliberative session to cut the budget by 2%.
Or $200,000?
Well, it's 2% is 209,454, I believe.
What he said, that figure.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. If not,
I think it would be worth to ask each department head, how do you think you could cut 2%? I think it's worth asking them. So that
I'll get
maybe,
to that one in a minute, as soon as we get through this motion. How's that?
okay,
Let's get through the motion first, let's see if the majority of the board wants to go that way.
okay,
And then we'll go to that discussion.
okay.
Any further discussion? Mr. Holt? Call on the motion.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes,
Mr. Wentworth, no. Vote is in the affirmative. The next question is it the board's pleasure to have the town administrator go back to the department heads to find out where they can cut $200,000 on at deliberative session?
2% out of their current budget.
2% out of their current budget.
Yes. And out of the budget that was approved. 2%. Just, how could they cut 2%?
I'd like to change the verbiage of that request a little, Mr. Chairman.
Well, it's up to Mr. Whitman.
Well, go ahead.
What do you mean that's up to Mr.
It's up to Mr.
Well, he's the one who
Whitman,
made
because
the
he had
motion.
the floor first. He was making.
Yeah, I
He
didn't
made
make
the
a
motion.
motion though, so on that.
It was
So-
his motion.
Go ahead.
Well, I would like them to be asked, can they make that 2% cut in their budget work? Can they make it?
Is it
work?
possible?
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Can they make it work?
All right, my feeling, this is the gentleman want to do, I would say direct the town administrator, get together with her department heads, and come up with 2% reduction in the budget. That would be the best and easiest way to do it. Instead of telling each department he's got to come up with 2%, because and 2% isn't going to mount up to the $200,000 you're looking at.
To call back each and every department and see if it is possible in their budget to cut 2%.
I would recommend to the town administrator that would be a task.
And it's a question.
Given to the town.
It's a question.
Yep.
If it's possible.
Is it possible, or
No, it's whether you want it or not.
well, I mean,
You want the budget reduced by 2%.
The only option I was gonna say, and we've already discussed this, we've already made a motion, but I was gonna cut that in half to $100,000. And to see if every department could cut 1%. But that being said, I was gonna say that, but it doesn't hurt to ask each and every department if, and it's a question, if it's possible in their budget to relook at their budget, if it's possible to not, I would like to make the motion 1 to 2%.
Okay, so if I'm getting this right, I'd like to make a motion that we ask the town administrator.
No, direct, don't ask, direct,
Direct.
direct.
Oh, okay. I
They're
thought
asking you to do something. She could turn around, look at it, and say, no, guys, I'm not gonna do it, okay?
She's not gonna do
I
that.
want a direction from the town
She's not gonna say
administrator to accomplish this mission for you guys.
Okay, so I thought we were talking about, we were gonna ask, you know, like, can you cut it 2%?
No, I'm not gonna ask him. I'm asking him. You guys should be asking her. She's your department. She represents the Board of Selectmen.
Yes.
My feeling is you should be asking her to go to her department heads and say, where can you cut $200,000 out of the budget out of all your departments, because we gotta come up with $200,000. That's what the majority of the board wants. And the onus goes on her. Then she comes back and reports to us if it can be done.
She's laughing.
Lucky me.
That's the way I feel it should be done, down the chain.
I agree.
Okay, so
No.
make,
I agree.
you make the motion to that.
I didn't, because I disagree with it.
But he disagreed with it. He's not gonna make that motion. It
Okay.
has to be one of us makes the motion. And my motion would be, is it possible to go, to ask the administrator if she will ask each and every department if they could lower 1% to 2% in their budget?
That's not directing, that's asking.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I think I've got the gist. I can take care of it if you want.
He's got the gist.
Consensus of the board is, that's what they'd like to have you do, ma'am.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you
All
very much.
right, gentlemen, moving on to number 2 of old business.
Painless.
Yes, it was painful. 2020 end of the year budget. We were at the last budget. Most of you got your reports last week from Laura in your packet. There was some monies left over. There was one department that only had $7,000 left in their department. At this point, I feel where we're going on the 15th tomorrow, we're halfway through the month, because we got the day coming off here pretty quick for Christmas. That all spending should be essential only now. If you have not spent it by now, you don't need to spend it unless it's for salaries or contracts.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, yep.
My only feeling, town administrator knows going to chime in here. She's probably got her finger up by now. No, she
That was not the one you want to look at.
Only reason I feel this way, being a store owner in town, and nobody in the town has ever done this to me on the municipal side, okay? Not on the municipal side. But come summertime in June, I get inundated at the store. I come in to spend a lot of money because if I don't spend it, I'm going to lose it. And it's not from the municipal side. It's from another side, okay? Over the horizon. That's a point. And I'm not saying everybody does it, but I'm just saying at this point where some of the budgets were so tight, and we got overtime coming up for plowing, sanding, and everything else. Again, Mr. Roberts' budget is tight. Solid waste we know is totally tight. Police and fire look pretty good right now at this point. I just think it should be emergency spending only from here until the rest of the year.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I feel,
Consensus? I agree.
That can be the 2%.
yeah.
Makes sense.
Consensus is fine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Town administrator, would you like to weigh in on my comments?
So I think, yes, I have a question, because when you turn away, I wouldn't quite
Oh,
capture.
I'm sorry.
So that would be until the end of this current year?
Current year, December 31st. Because looking at November's monthly end reports for what was left at the end of November, what Laura gave us,
Yeah.
there were some departments that had a little cushion. There were some that didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Solid waste had nothing, 7,000, that's gonna be overexpended. Highway's gonna be very close. Police look pretty good, fire look pretty good. But I'm just saying at this point, we should say, all right, guys, let's tighten the purses and the wallets.
Yes.
Agree, and I'll send something out, I'll take your notification on that.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Gentlemen, you agree?
Yes,
Okay, that's all I had on that.
yep, absolutely.
No,
Moving on.
that's a good point, because I had 2 administrators ago tell me, spend more money or you won't get it again, you know? So I see where you're coming.
It happens in the present.
Yeah.
Moving on to Selectmen's report, Mr. Holt.
No.
Mr. Rochelle.
Just briefly, as you know, we've had several different meetings on the master plan committee. We had a meeting on the 9th, and we're still moving along and moving forward to the RFP for the master plan consultant, and we're narrowing it down and got it down to a pretty good consensus of what we'd like to do. So we will be meeting again next month on the 6th of January.
I have nothing to report, but as I recall, Paul, I'm alternate to you, for you.
That's correct.
Is there anything saying that I can't attend?
Absolutely not.
Because I'd be considered public probably.
You would be considered, I don't know if you'd be considered public.
He's an alternate, I think.
You're an alternate, I think you can be there.
Yeah, but he can't vote.
No, I wouldn't be able to
You
vote.
can't vote, but, we have only 4 of us are present, the rest are on remote, on Zoom. And you can't do that?
Remote, I don't think I can.
You can't
I have
do
to be
Zoom?
there, yeah.
Okay. I don't see an issue
Where
with
do you
that.
have the meetings?
Right in here.
Oh, okay. do me a favor, and let me know if you've already
I
scheduled
will.
the rest of the meetings,
Yeah,
let me know.
the next one is, you put it down January 6th.
January sixth?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause remember, you used to go to budget meetings.
That's correct. I would go in his place.
No, you went a couple times with him. Just so you
Once,
already-
yeah, I did one time. One time I went with him. But now, because of COVID, I'm gonna ask that question. I'll ask that question to make sure that I can't see why you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I mean, I've been curious just to see the existing one that Virgil says is a paragraph.
Oh.
Actually, I've been told it's a little bit longer than that, but the original, I'd kind of like to see that.
The original is long.
Yeah. Oh, okay, all right,
It's a booklet.
okay.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Well, gentlemen, this is the first week. I really don't have anything to report.
Really?
So after my last spiel all night long, I'm gonna pass over to the town administrator. Floor is yours, ma'am.
I have several things to report on. Okay. First one has to do with the Children's on the Pier restaurant. You'll see a document at your seat, it's the email chain with some highlighting on it, and attached to it is a draft sketch of a plot plan. It's from the engineering company.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any questions on the first page in yellow in regards to the curtilage? Do you want the curtilage to be measured out from the building or from the soffit, which is what out in the structure itself?
I do have a question for you. On this plot plan I'm looking at, the dashed lines, is that the curtilage right now?
I am not sure, it might be, but.
Because if that's the point, that dock that we all discussed last year isn't part of that curtilage.
So keep
No,
in
it's not.
mind, this is the draft, and this is the first draft, and there's already been this afternoon a lot of discussion between the town attorney, myself, this gentleman, and the assessor in regards to tweaking this to what you have all spoken about. So disregard the
So you're asking whether it should go from the building or from the drip line?
from the soffit is what he.
Which is the drip line.
Which I'm gonna recommend the drip line.
Yeah,
only
it-
because
and
there's case law on drip line. Mr. Sussman might remember this, and this was the condominiums over on 28A.
Mhm.
When they tore the building down to the footprint of the building. The footprint of the building, the judge ruled, was the drip line of the building, not the walls of the building. So I myself feeling where there's case law on that, and I think you just asked Jim to verify that. It's case law.
Zoning board, we measure from the footprint, not the drip line, but,
Which is surprising me, only because the ZBA had to go to court on that one up there, and it went from the drip line, which the judge ruled on the case.
Mhm.
That's why I'm surprised.
yeah, I know. It kind of goes both ways, goes back and forth, but I think technically, actually, it should be from the drip line, which is the overhang.
Could I get a motion on that?
Motion to curtilage area on Chili's by the pier should be measured from the drip line.
I second.
Motion made by Reuben Wentworth to approve the curtilage area is measured from the drip line on Chili's by the pier building, second by Paul Rochelle. Discussion. Hold the board, Mr. Holt.
I'm just, first I seen is this plan.
Okay.
I received it today.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no problem. I just had a question on the plan.
Yeah, but we're not approving the plan, we're just approving whether we measure from the drip.
Drip line or from the building.
Okay, yeah, I'm in favor of that.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. Whitman.
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes, votes in the affirmative. And then we'll wait to hear for you to bring us back the rest of this is just a draft for them to look at. You'll bring back more to us.
Yes, because there will be some changes on here that have already been put into place
Okay.
that are not showing on.
So we'll get more to this, Bob.
Okay.
And you did know, the curtilage, I thought I'd bring it up, that secondary deck, that runs parallel with the shoreline,
Yes, sir.
it was not in the curtilage. And we knew that. Okay. I thought you were confused. You thought it was? Yeah, over here, on the side of where the boat ramp is.
Not the side of the boat ramp, the other one.
Oh, I thought you meant the boat ramp. So what was your question here then?
there's the corner of the, here's the ramp over here,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So we knew this wasn't part of it. But coming across here, doing the dotted lines, we got here, you got dock right here, there's our stairway coming down.
yes.
This right here does not show that as part of the curtilage.
Right.
You mean on the sidewalk?
Down
Then you're
on the
losing me.
dock Where it says dock.
Yeah, see, that's,
Which
Look,
really should
no,
be
you're losing me.
dining deck, dining deck.
There's his dining deck out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dock. This is the dock that was in,
That's correct.
that was in question last year. This is the whole dock. Here's the curtilage right here.
Right. That always was that way.
But we said they had the whole dock this year. That was what in question was this year, the whole dock. Mr. Shilly has the whole dock in. This does not show the whole dock.
No, it does not. This part doesn't. But that's the way it's always shown.
I know, that's what
Okay.
I'm questioning.
Okay.
But she's saying this is the draft, so we'll wait for.
Yeah, no, that should change the whole, all the way. Yeah, you're right.
And, the curtilage will not go out over the water, it has to go along the edge of the
Yes.
structures and the decks and the docks and everything.
Mhm.
We don't own the water, it's state.
I can walk
on here out in the water.
Right, so this is
Right.
just a rough draft.
Right, right. It shows it square going on out over the water.
Yes, ma'am, next item.
Thank you.
All right, West Dalton Brook. You have at your seat a document from DOT in regards to some bridge maintenance that they will be doing on Loop Cove,
Road.
Route 11A, I'm sorry, Route 11A over the West Dalton Brook. I just wanted to bring this to you as a courtesy that the Conservation Commission they were sent this letter as well, and they are looking into the questions and the requests of DOT, such as mitigation, wetlands mitigation, which DOT will have to do. So this is really a Conservation Commission job to find other locations for wetlands mitigation for whatever DOT is going to be doing in the brook, and also a wetlands priority list and things of that nature. So I just wanted to give this to you, and let you know they actually spoke about it at their last meeting, and they are looking into this. And as a courtesy, I just wanted you to know what they're doing with that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That bridge that's right on the town line.
It's right on the curve, yeah.
Yep,
See, they did the one just above it
just before it.
last year.
Yes,
No, just, well,
it's right near it, yes.
Yep.
Okay. Next, deliberative session. So, as you know, the NHMA has a legal calendar for us to follow, so we are a technically March town. And every year, there's a 1-week opportunity for this town to have its deliberative session. And that would be anytime from Saturday, January 30th until Saturday, February 6th. Now, normally you have it on a Tuesday evening, so in 2021, that would be February 2nd, with a snow date of Wednesday, February 3rd. So I just need a consensus that you're all okay with that, you agree with that, you would like to do that as has been done in years past.
Do you need a motion on that?
Yes,
Okay.
please, yeah.
Make a motion that we have deliberative session February 2nd, snow date of February 3rd.
I'll second.
Motion made by Phil Whitman. January 30th, February, I'm sorry, say that over again.
I make a motion that we have our deliberative session scheduled and have our a session on February 2nd with a snow date of February 3rd.
Thank you. Motion made by Phil Whitman to have the deliberative session on February 2nd, this is a Tuesday, with the snow day February 3rd, Wednesday, second by Paul Rochelle.
Correct.
Any discussion? Poll the board. Mr. Whitman.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. Holt.
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes.
Thank you. The next item is, Reed Road and the parking issues that have happened in the warmer months with hikers, with the team. And, I just wanted to bring to your attention that the emergency management team does recommend signage for both sides of Reed Road. They are currently recommending one set at the end of the Class 5 portion and another set further up the Class 6 portion, similar to the Jesus Valley Road no parking signs. And due to the season and the weather and the ground, the emergency management team is recommending that the installation of signs, once you approve them, be done in the spring rather than now. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention now, because I know at some point soon, I would assume, that there's going to be an agenda item on this signage. I know the highway department has looked at the site, and the woman from the Forest Society would like to participate in the meeting and everything, but just to give you a heads up on the EMT.
Thank you.
The next item would be the 2021 default budget. You should have a copy of it at your seat.
No,
Nope.
I have to say, I did not see it.
I don't have it either.
I put them there.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, they're in the paper. Oh, wait, over the other side. Just trying to pull you.
Worksheet?
Yes, that's,
Budget worksheet?
that's, yep.
Oh,
That's
okay,
the normal
okay.
CMSI default budget worksheet. You'll see there, the columns at the top are numbered. So column 3 would be the current budget that we're in. That's what you have to use as a base under RSA 4413 to create the default budget. Column 5 would be any reductions or increases. Reductions are listed in parentheses. Column 6 would be any one-time big ticket purchase items that were purchased and will not be purchased again. Column 7 would be the end result of those columns. And then column 8 would be details. The reasons why it is allowed or not allowed. And I've got Laura here to help with answering questions on the default budget, if you have any questions.
So I don't know what the bottom line is, because you can't tell by this, but secondly is, looking at the wages, you have COLA in there, which has always been considered as per contractual because it's part of the employee policy, but the merit pays aren't. So shouldn't we see the salaries go down on a default budget?
Yeah, I missed the second half of that. So merit is not issued in a default budget.
Okay.
But COLA
Is.
as long as you didn't have a default budget the year before.
As long as you had it in the budget the year before.
No, if you did not have, if the year before was a default budget,
Yeah.
and you get a second year as a default budget, you cannot put COLA in that second year default budget when you create it. So you don't have to worry about that this year.
So I guess
It'd only be the merit.
I would make a motion to approve this tonight if I had a bottom line. But in writing, not just from what you guys are gonna tell me.
There is a bottom line here.
Well, I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
$8,099,570,
Here's page 17, Ruben.
Page 17, all right, I see it.
but that's not including the water.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which page?
Page 17,
See, I went to the very.
page 17. That's what I did too. Well, I think we all did.
Yeah, and then I see it was water.
That was water department.
This is $200,000, what all Bob?
I knew you were gonna say that.
It's actually a little more than that, ma'am.
Well, actually, it's more.
300.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's your pay increases.
Still more than last year.
Said that's your pay increases. Okay, gentlemen, all I need is a motion to approve the default budget.
Make a motion to approve the default budget for 2021
You want to put the dollar amount in, Paul? Sorry.
at the amount of, $8,099,570.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Paul Rochelle to approve the default budget of $8,099,570, seconded by Mr. Holt. Discussion. Not Mr. Holt.
Oh,
Yes. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yeah. Vote is in the affirmative, ladies.
That's all I have for the 2 sessions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, all right.
Wait, there's that finger.
I've got a good one. So, Laura, I'll have you explain, and it has to do with the water department budget.
Okay.
So currently, we're going back and forth with the DRA on where to put the water budget. Because the board expends it, they say you have to appropriate it. Okay? But they're also telling me that it shouldn't be within our operating budget because it's self-funded. So we're still arguing with the DRA on that.
After how many years the water department's been done this way?
Yeah, I don't know, because it's really self-funded. So you can do a couple things, you can keep it in your operating budget and just have an extra $500,000 in your operating budget. Or you can have a second warrant article that says that this is the water department, this is what we need, but it's offset from the billing, so there's no taxes raised. But I want you to just approve the default budget in case they come back at me.
That's the best way to do it, because then everyone sitting on the outside areas of the village cannot say that their property taxes pay for the water department.
But they don't.
Only through the school taxes and administration buildings here. But the over operating budget, you cannot convince people in this town that they're not paying for it through their property taxes. Okay?
But they're not.
This would be the best way, have one article, this is the warrant article for the waterworks.
Makes sense.
I mean, I just wanted you to review it and approve it just in case we have to go either way.
Because if we approve it that way, then you gotta change the operating budget,
No, it's not in that number that you just approved.
not in the default budget.
It's not in your, either.
It is in the operating budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm working on that, so it's okay.
I know, but it's on the operating budget, so that is our operating budget. There's your $200,000 again.
That's what he said already.
Wait a
Gentlemen,
minute.
what's your pleasure, or do you want to think about it for the week? I'll let Laura know. Basically, what it's saying, what she's saying, the way I understand it best is, it's like having a village water district, which we kind of have.
Mhm.
But the selectmen run the water district. She's saying, to come up to the water department, which I don't have the bottom line what it is right now,
Mhm.
saying to see if the voters will approve the sum of $455,000 for the operation of the water department for the year 2021, not to be affected by property taxes. Something of that nature. Am I correct?
It says in the warrant article that it is funded from the invoice, like the bill. The bills are what funded.
Yep.
So that would come.
That would
right off
explain
our
it.
Operating budget, that 445,000, which is close to that figure. That would come right out of your operating budget right there, but it doesn't. So it increases, your budget increases, but her budget had decreased anyways.
Mhm.
But this way here, the voters realize the water department is funded solely by the water users.
Right.
I understand.
Right.
That's great.
But do you want the week to think about the way she just told you about it? Or do you want to
No.
make a decision?
No, I don't.
No, I think that's fine.
Oh, no. I think that separates
Mhm.
two.
So can I have a motion to the effect that the Board of Selectmen wants the Alton Water Works budget to be in its own warrant article? Is that what you're looking for, ma'am?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Mr. Wentworth that the Water Department's budget will be presented by warrant article in its entirety, not in the operating sweep article. Second by Paul Rochelle. Discussion.
Yes, well, yes. Is that, in our present budget, is the water department in that? I thought it
Present
was.
budget, the water department is in that present operating budget as the warrant article is presented to the townspeople, yes.
Right now it is, yes.
So if we go this route with the warrant article, what's that do to our operating budget?
It'll reduce it by this much.
By 440.
By 400.
You just doubled your 200,000, Bob. Sorry, no.
How it normally works, Bob, is that your operating budget, say, is 8.8 million.
Yep.
In that is 500,000 for the water that actually comes, if you're, think you're raising it, but it's offset on the revenue side. So you're technically not changing your tax rate, but the people are not seeing that. They're thinking it's an $8.8 million budget, when it's really only 8.3.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah?
Yes.
I guess, yeah.
So it won't change your tax rate at all. It's just the way you see it is more accurate.
Better explanation.
They're not gonna see it in the tax rate.
You're gonna see its own warrant article saying this is offset by its own invoices, so no, you don't have to.
And I think that's important to explain that.
Yeah,
Yep, you also have to approve a default amount as well, the same exact thing.
Okay.
Okay. I'll call the question. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
yes,
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Now, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to approve the default budget of the Alton Water Works. I believe it's $507,884.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Mr. Wentworth to approve the default budget for the Alton Water Works of $507,844, second by Mr. Holt. Discussion. Well, if not being, I'll pull the board. Mr. Whitman?
yes,
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt? Yes. Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote to the affirmative. You're welcome. Thank you. Approval of minutes, gentlemen, December 7th, 2020, regular.
move we accept approve the minutes of the December 7th select board meeting.
Got those. I'm still looking. I looked at them earlier, but now I'm trying to find them again. Oh, no.
Right after your, increases in the budget, Bob. Remember the sheet of paper that had the increase on it?
Yeah.
All right, page right after that.
Yeah, okay.
You have a motion by Mr. Whitman to approve December 7th, 2020 minutes.
I'll second. I did go through this.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
to approve the December 7th, 2020 regular minutes, second by Paul Rochelle. Discussion. Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yeah, I thought we already did that.
No. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in affirmative. Next on our agenda, gentlemen, is the consent agenda. That's number 14, 2020. We have two items, Old Home Week Committee for an appointment and Town Clerk / Tax Collector Department on annual contract renewal.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda, December 14th, 2020.
Second,
Motion made by Paul Rochelle to approve the consent agenda, December 14, 2020, second by Mr. Whitman. Open the floor to discussion. Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
yes,
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt? Yes. Mr. Wentworth, yes. Discretionary action on requests for appointments, discussion majority vote required to allow, not to allow Scott Williams approval of this subdivision. Back, you'll see it back there, gentlemen. Let me know what your pleasure will be.
I did put a recommendation on to deny, because this is not a board of selectmen issue, and legal counsel advises this is a planning board issue only.
it seems to me it should be a planning board issue.
I thought too, but, you know, I had another road coming before you from another family that wants us to get involved in it.
Mhm.
Maybe that's a little different, maybe not.
It might be a little different, yeah.
Do I have a motion to deny or to allow?
Chairman,
deny the request of Mr. Scott Williams.
Motion has been made by Mr. Holt to deny the request of Mr. Williams. I have a second.
I'll second.
I'll open for discussion. The only discussion I would say to the gentleman that this matter needs to be taken up with the
Anyway,
planning department, not the board of selectmen.
correct.
So go along when we send that.
Yes.
message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreeable?
Yes, that's, yes, agreeable.
Is there any discussion? Not, poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. All right, gentlemen, at this point here, I have to ask my town administrator. She's gonna give me my cheat sheet tonight. No, I didn't see it.
A and C.
A and C. Gentlemen, I need a motion going to non-public session underneath RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, A and C.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Wentworth, going to non-public session underneath RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, A and C, seconded by Paul Rochelle. Discussion. If not, I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in affirmative. Folks, we are in non-public session at 7:36. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask for a 5-minute recess. 5 minutes? Yes. No. Good evening, we're back from non-public session at 8:22. Gentlemen, I need a motion to not divulge the minutes of non-public session underneath A and B. And to approve C. Excuse me, 4,
Right, to release number 4.
release number 4. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Reuben Wentworth, not to divulge the minutes of 1, 2, and 3 of non-public session, but to divulge number 4. Second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth? Gentlemen, we have one item to go back to new business, solid waste department annual facility report signature. I would entertain a motion to have the solid waste director at the Alton Solid Waste Center to be able to sign any annual facility reports concerning New Hampshire DES.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Wentworth to approve the solid waste director to allow them to sign the annual facility report to New Hampshire DES. Second by Mr. Rochelle. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt? Yes. Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. If nothing else, gentlemen, at this time, I would call for an adjournment at 8:24.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Paul Rochelle to adjourn at 8:24, second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? Being none, gentlemen, I have hold the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Holt? Yes. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is the affirmative. Folks, we are adjourned at 8:24. Thank you for joining in tonight, and hope to see you next Monday night just before